מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה, רבה אמונתך. מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה, רבה אמונתך. רבה אמונתך.
Well, officially Shabbat Shalom to you. Hello. Hope you're having a lovely Shabbat so far. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, look at you. Just picked up on that. I changed it a little bit, and it's so nice. Only took us just over 6 years for us to do that together. That's nice. That's true. With a pandemic thrown in the middle, that's true. If you were not here last night, or you didn't have a chance to see on the live stream, our fabulous choir performed as part of the service and sang beautifully, and so it was a lovely evening. We had a nice crowd. I would say it was a nice crowd last night. It was good, 300, 400 people. Yeah, so it was very nice. But hope that you're having a meaningful and lovely Shabbat. Let's continue with a little matovu, just on the next page, 172.
Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. V'ani merov chasdecha avo veitecha, eshachave lecha kodshecha be'yiratecha. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha, umekom mishkan kevodecha. V'ani eshachave ve'yechra'a, evrecha lifnei Adonai osi. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. V'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chasdecha aneni be'emet yishecha. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha
Yisrael. Nisim b'chol yom, our daily blessings and miracles, 175.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan netzach v'bina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam פוקח עברים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam roka haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin metzadei gaver.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish harumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten layaev koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina meinai utnuma me'afapai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani ben chorim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen.
We continue with Shochen Ad in the middle of page 192.
Shulchan ad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranenu tzadikim Adonai laisharim navatehila befi yesharim tithalal uvdivrei tzadikim titbarach ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יתפאר, שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות, אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלכי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעולמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולמי המאיה יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעולמה, ואמרו Amen.
We stand for the Baruch Hu 195.
Lai la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, המבורך לעולם ועד. המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצר אור וחושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. Please be seated. We continue Ahava Rabbah 198.
אהבה רבה אהבתנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חמלה גדולה ויתרה, חמלת עלינו. בעבור אבותינו ואימותינו שבטחו בך ותלמידיהם חוקי חיים. והערנו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחל לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך. ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא פתחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בטיל תכלת. והיה לכם לציצית וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם. ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
It's our song of redemption, Michamocha 204.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, shira chadasha shibchu geulim, לשמחה אספת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל Ufteichin mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael, Gohaleinu Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Ata Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
We begin the Amidah on page 205.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'ibon v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Kodnei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, Ulmei gula livnei v'neihem leman shemo be'ahava melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen Baruch atah Adonai magen Avraham be'ezrat Sarah atah gibor le'olam Adonai mechaye hakol atah rav lehoshia mashiv haruach u'morin hagashem Kel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayehem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'neman ata lehachayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai, mechaye hakol.
Kedusha 208.
Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד אלוהינו הוא אבינו הוא מלכנו הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Zion, ledor vador. Hallelujah, ledor vador, ledor vador. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ושכחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We take some time now for our own silent prayers, thoughts, meditations, beginning here on page page 210 through page 219. When you're finished, please be seated.
Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Aseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen, amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
We continue with Seder Kvet HaTorah, the service for reading the Torah on Shabbat morning, which begins on page 244.
Ein kamocha va'elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'hador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch le'olam ha'ed. Adonai oz le'amo hitein. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom.
Please stand.
Av harachamim eitiva v'tzoncha et Zion. Timneh chomot Yerushalayim, ki v'echad levad batachnu, melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim.
246.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael, b'hidushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlul Adonai iti, Unerom ema Shemo Yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'agevura ve'atiferet ve'anetzach ve'ahod. Ki chol bashamayim uvaretz, ki chol bashamayim uvaretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha ve'amid nahaseh lechol lerosh. Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'hishtachavu, Vehishtachavu ladon raglav kadoshu. Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, והשתחוו, והשתחוו להר קודשו, כי קדוש. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו.
Please be seated.
Start?
Whatever. You want to do the Torah first?
Get it out of the way.
Okay. Let's read some Torah first. So we are in the Torah portion called Vayetze. Vayetze, which is Genesis 28:10. Genesis 28:10. Vayetze 28:10. Genesis, Bereshit 28:10. Bereshit 28:10. 28:10. 28:10.
Gil, you chanting?
Right, isn't it your Torah? Gil, did you come up? You gonna do it?
Yeah.
All right, great.
That's okay.
All right. You should remember it. You said you remember it. We're just messing with you. Do you want to come up? No. Okay. Katya,
Aliyah?
come
Katya, yes.
and do our Aliyah for us. 250. Aliyah is 250. Cantor's going to be chanting from the beginning. Is that correct?
Yes, Bereshit.
Of Bereshit, not the beginning of Bereshit. 250 is the. What is it? Tamod. Era. Eva. Ashera. Bat. Avraham. Vesara. La Torah. 250.
Baruch atah Adonai Hamorah.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamorah Le'olam Vayed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai notena Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayetze Yaakov מבאר, שבה וילך הרנה, ויבקע במקום, ויעלן שם קיבה השמש, ויקח מאבני המקום, ויעשה מראשותיו, וישכב במקום ההוא, ויחלום. והנה סולם מוצב ארצה, וראשו מגיע השמיימה, והנה מלאכי אלוהים עולים ויורדים בו, והנה אדוני ניצב עליו, ויאמר אני אדוני אלוהי אברהם אביך ואלוהי יצחק, הארץ אשר אתה שוכב עליה לך אתננה וזרעך, ויעזרך כעפר הארץ, ופרצת ימה וקדמה וצפונה ונגבה, ונברחו בך כל משפחות האדמה ובזרעך, והנה אנוכי עמך. ושמרתיך בכל אשר תלך, ואשיב אותיך אל האדמה הזאת, כי לא אעזבך עד אשר אם עשית את אשר דיברתי לך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chai olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai notena Torah.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. Well, we should raise and dress, don't you think? Yeah, let's raise and dress. Anyone want to raise and dress? Yeah, all right, please come on down. Anyone else want to raise and dress? Oh, is it the trio? I love it. I love the trio.
I got a horse riding full review.
We are going to raise and dress the Torah. So we are turning to that next page, which is 252, and we're going to stand.
Over the sledge. Lift it first. Yeah, there you go.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני, ביד משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה.
Please be seated. It's the bargain price. You keep shouting out these wrong numbers because I'm on page 56, so I don't know what you're talking about. No. It's the good book. It's a good book. Yes. So we're in Vayetze, which is which is really good, by the way. It's a really good Torah portion. It is very popular. There's lots of cool quotes, songs. It's like a memorable Torah portion. It has lots of cool things. It has in it, I'm not going to shock you because we did it last year, it has Jacob's ladder in it. So, our text is shared with Jews and non-Jews and New Testament and all of that. And so everyone knows Jacob's ladder in some way. I think there's, isn't there a couple of movies called Jacob's Ladder? Isn't there a couple of movies called Jacob's? I don't know. I think they were all like, Tim Robbins was called Jacob's Ladder? Yeah. So, yeah. So I knew it. Thanks, Gil. So it's a very popular Torah portion. So we're going to look through, and believe it or not, the popular part is really right towards the beginning, but then we're going to try and get into that second part. It has several really cool parts. We're going to try and do the first part and then try and get into that second part if we can. That's the goal. Let's do the bracha, our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Yes. Yes, what does Vayetze mean? Yes, he went out. He went out. Who's he, by the way? Jacob. So let's do some context. Where is he going? What's going on? What's happening to him currently? He's running. He's running from his brother Esau. Right. Why? Because he, quote, stole the birthright, right? He, quote, stole the birthright last week. And who says he should run? Rebecca, his mother. His mother says, your brother's going to probably kill you. You should go. So when mom says, your brother's going to kill you, you should run, then you usually run. And so he does. And in his running is where we sort of pick up now. This is kind of where we are now with this beginning of the run. Now, we'll see, and we'll get to it. We'll hopefully get to it. We'll see that the running actually pays off because there'll be some good stuff that happens to him on the way during the running, both this week and particularly next week. Some really good stuff happens for Jacob the next 2 weeks. Okay, that's all the nice setup that we have. There's also, if you want to keep track, there's a German word called Leitwort, Leitwort. It means like a keyword or a reoccurring word. And in the next couple of weeks, one of those reoccurring words is going to be the word stone or stones, because it's going to play a significant role in Jacob's life, stones. So just as a side note. So much so, by the way, to fast forward, there's going to be a situation next week where Rachel actually gets buried, and he puts a marker there where she's buried, and that becomes the first time that there is a marker that marks a grave ever in history, really, essentially. And because of that, there are markers that mark graves everywhere in all religions. That's why there is a stone marker, stone, right? There's a stone marker, and because he chooses to put a stone there to mark where she dies. That's next week. So we're not getting too far into that because it's next week, but I just want to give you a teaser because it's all one big story with Jacob. Yes? Next week is Vayishlach, yes. Yes. Which I think is one of I think it's my favorite. Besides Shlach Lecha, which is the best Torah portion, because that's the Torah portion for my bar mitzvah. Okay, here we go. You ready? I want to give her the mic. All right, great. Does it reach? Will it reach her? Okay. All right, we're at the beginning. Verse 10.
And Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. Coming upon a certain place, he passed the night there, for the sun was setting. Taking one of the stones of the place, he made it his headrest as he lay down in that place.
Okay, thanks. So there's a stone already. So the whole Torah portion opens up, and there's a stone. So now we don't even need the word stone there necessarily, right? It just could say what? It just could say he laid on the ground, or he just lay down in that place. It says, right? Literally, the text says lay down in that place, so you don't need the word stone there. Lay down in the place means I lay down in the place. It's specific, right? There's a stone there. So again, there's a reason for this idea of a stone. There's this idea of Selah and rock and all these things, which obviously connects to what? Probably what's a eternal thing we can think of that is like a rock? It starts with a G and ends with a D, and there's an O in the middle. God, good. Okay, excellent. Good. So now, it also says in verse 11, it says he came upon a certain place. Right? So if you look at the Hebrew, in verse 11, right? So 10 says, Vayetze Yaakov midbar Sheva vayelech Charana. That's that first line. He goes to Haran. Got it. 11 says, Vayifga bamakom. So what is lifgoa? You want to know what the word lifgoa or paga means? Approach, or like almost like hit or touch. Like, in fact, it's a terrible verb. It's a verb that can be used terribly, because if there's, God forbid, a suicide bombing, the word for a suicide bombing is pigua, which is the same root word, because it's a hit. It's like, so it's almost like he comes and sort of hits upon this place. Now, hamakom is this place. Also, what is hamakom? Not you, Cantor. What is hamakom?
We refer to God as hamakom.
Exactly. So another name of God is actually hamakom, the place, or the place that we walk into. So much so that it's the term that's used typically for mourning. When you're in mourning, it's God's name is usually hamakom. It literally says in the liturgy, in funerals, hamakom yinetchem otchem. The place will bring you comfort. But it says the place, but it's really another name for God. So it's a fascinating thing that it says that he comes upon the place, but maybe it's also he comes upon God, that he realized, like he already shows up in the presence of God, and everything that takes place now, it if you think of it in the context, you can either think of the context of what the text says, which is just he hits a rock and he's there, there's a rock there, he goes to sleep on it, because it says that, or you can go into the deeper level and think he sort of comes upon God in this moment. So you can think of either in this situation. Okay. We can go on.
He dreamed, and lo, a ladder was set on the ground with its top reaching to heaven, and lo, angels of God going up and coming down on it.
Okay, so, nice, thank you. So he took one of the stones of that place, right? There's makom again, same word. So he took one of the stones from that place, a stone of God maybe, or a stone of something we don't really know necessarily, and he says, he takes the stone, he puts it under his head, which seems so comfortable to me. What a great night's sleep with a stone under your head. And then he goes to sleep. Why is he going to sleep? It's night. How do you know it's night? The sun was setting, and not only was the sun was setting, but it says it was night. It says both things, right? So in the end of 11 says, right, that sort of in the middle of 11 rather, it says it was night and the sun had set. So why do you think we need that context now that we know there's going to be a dream? Why do you think the Torah has to say two things there? Aren't they the same thing? For the sun had set and night, isn't that the same thing?
Dusk and night is two different things.
But the sun has set. It's done. The sun's down, right? So the sun's down. So the night is dark, right? So there's this, and I want us to play with this nighttime also because it's going to happen again next week. We're going to have this weirdness about when night happens and what happens. So Jacob and night and dreams and these spaces it's all about him. His life is sort of peppered with these interesting nighttime moments. Next week's a huge nighttime moment, by the way. So.
It doesn't say night in Greek. It doesn't say Lila. It just says Kiva Hashemesh. It doesn't say night.
Yeah, it just says, Hashemesh, but yeah, it just says it's the alliteration of how the Ki Va Hashemesh is sort of a double in that the sun went down. So it's how the English is trying to compensate for the Hebrew. So it doesn't say Lila, but it's enough to say that the sun goes down for the English to compensate for it to say two times. But that's what I wanted to bring our attention to, is that this weird night thing always is happening. Okay, now we're on 12. So he had a dream because presumably he's what? Sleeping, right? Because it's what? It's nighttime. All right, good. Okay, all comfy on his stone. He's sleeping, and he had a dream. And what was the dream about? A ladder, right? And what is happening on this ladder? Well, where was the ladder, by the way? Right, where was the ladder? Where is it stationed? On the ground. On the ground. Okay, so it's stationed on the ground. So now I want you to picture your ladder. It's on the ground. Okay, and now what?
Angels are going up and down.
Okay, it's reaching up to the sky, right? Does yours say heaven or sky? Heaven. Okay, mine says sky. Good. And now what? Angels of who? God. Okay, were? Going up and down. Okay, so let's talk about up and down for a second, right? Okay. Now, this is like the big mystery, like the big conversation we usually have. How come they're going up first and then down second? Let's talk about this only for a few minutes. There's a lot more to talk about, but let's talk about this for a minute. Yes?
It didn't originate in the heavens, it originated on earth.
Exactly. Okay, so they originated, so it's interesting, rather than come down and then up, right? They go up and then down. So they were down here already. So presumably there were what walking around? Angels. There were angels walking around. So how do angels look?
Like people.
Okay, so they look like people. Or if you ask if you ask really Catholic art, right? What do angels look like? Wings. And what color are they? White. And what do they carry with them? Harps. Right, so it's nice. So thank you to mostly the Vatican and the sort of the construct of Catholic art, we have this vision of what we think heaven looks like, what we think angels look like, and so we might have this like vision of like the right with the nice the nice sweet people carrying the harps and floating around, right? But not necessarily because they were already down here. So, who was already down here? Yeah, but where are the angels? What angels are we talking about? What's that? I thought you said hell's angels, and I was like, that's what you said. I was like, that's funny, but I thought, what's that? Okay, so number one answer is that if we were playing Family Feud, bing, number one answer is he was dreaming. It's it, over. He was dreaming. When we have dreams, we have all kinds of weird things that we have dreams about, right? And you wake up in the morning, you're like, whoa, that was crazy. That was a crazy dream, right? Okay, so he was dreaming. That's option one. Yeah? Oh, so maybe we're talking about the 36, the 36 were righteous people, and so maybe they're amongst them, and maybe they're changing shifts, right? So maybe it's shift change, right? So maybe the ones, changing of the guard. So maybe the 36 have to go, we're done, I'm clocking out, it's time to eat lunch, I'm going to my lunch break, and the next crew has to come down. I love that, actually. It's a really good concept because, right, the 36 have to switch over. So maybe like, the next, all right. Jimmy, Bobby, great job. I'm going to sleep. You guys come down. Everything is great. All right, nice. Okay.
Somebody needs to write an essay on that.
Yeah, someone has to write an essay on like the change of the shift of the angels. Like, hey, God, all right, I'm out. I'm going to take a nap. You take care of the thing. We're good. All right. It's like at least a cartoon, a little good cartoon. Yes, please tell me you're not commenting on this silliness. Whoever is going to comment. Who is it? Yeah. Gail. Save us, Gail.
The angels visited Abraham.
Oh, yes, Gail. Well done. So the angels came to visit Abraham, you remember? 3 people showed up, and they each had a job. Remember what their job was? Each of them had a job. One job was to what? Tell Sarah that she was going to have a baby, and then she laughed, and then we had Yitzchak, right? We had Isaac. Good. So we had one who said that she was going to have a baby. What's the second one's job? What's that? Destroy Sodom. That's nice. That was Gabriel. That was the angel of Gabriel, is what most people say. Yes, he came to destroy Sodom. And who is yeah? So that's interesting that it could be the same one in the same system. In that moment, the 3 that come to visit is probably not that one, but I love that. It could be one of the ones that are still going up or down, though, so that's nice. That's the shift change. It's been a long time for that one. They're exhausted by that one. They're overtime on that one. They're like really clocking in twice. The third one, the commentary says, was to come and heal Abraham. Why did he need healing? From the circumcision. Exactly. So, and they're named, by the way. So Raphael is hypothetically the angel that comes to do the healing, because Raphe means a doctor, right? So Gabriel, who was thought to be the sort of more angel that could bring forth that anger, possibly, they thought. He was the one that went to Sodom. And Michael, or Michael, was the one who probably came to tell Sarah that she was pregnant, so hypothetically. So at least those 3 angels are hanging around if we're paying attention to the context. And then but then there's more flowing and more going, and so maybe we get to the 36, the righteous, which is possible. So, or any of this is not true, and he was just dreaming and we're just done. And all this is just like, yay, there's angels, and it's yay. Good. Yes?
Just curious, does the translation actually, is it really angel and really heaven? Or is it the translator that came up with that?
It says Malachei Elohim. Yeah, it says angels of God. Angels of God. It doesn't say heaven. It says Hashamayma. It says to the skies. It says to the upper skies. So it doesn't necessarily say that exact word. But yeah. Right. Well, we do. There's a versions of sort of the world to come and the world not to come. It's just not, again, thanks to the Catholic sort of system that we think of, like heaven's above and hell is below, and right, heaven it's white with clouds and right gates, right? We know that from all we think of, and hell has red, and the guy with the fork and the right? That's all like a thanks to sort of the influence of Catholic art. Yes. Oh.
Goes up into the sky, 3 angels, the scarecrow, the Tin Man,
Probably. I would say in the last scene with the hot air balloon, you're saying? Yeah.
The allegory that 3 of them could represent those 3 angels that came to visit Abraham, and Tin Man could be the one who chops everything down.
Yeah.
It seems to me that he must have been influenced by the story.
Works for me. Love it. Yes. I mean, I wouldn't be too far out to piece it together. So yeah, and he floats away. He's like, I can't stop it. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Okay, so all right, let's keep going.
And lo, the Eternal stood up above it and said, I, the Eternal, am the God of your father Abraham and God of Isaac. The land on which you are lying I will give to you and to your descendants. And your descendants shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread out to the west and the east and the north and the south. Through you and your descendants, all the families of the earth shall find blessing. And here I am with you. I will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this soil. I will not let go of you as long as I have yet to do what I have promised you.
Okay, so what's this? What's this? This is the covenant, right? This is the continuation, right? Kind of like it says, what I promised to Abraham and Isaac, and now I'm giving it to you, right? So this is why we have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are the big 3, right? Yeah?
I was just going to say he says Abraham Avika, but he doesn't say Yitzchak.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. The commentary mentions that. The easy response is, if you know it's Avraham Avicha, you can also infer that it's Yitzchak Avicha, because they have to know the line, and they were talking about his dad. So he has to know that it has to do with his dad. So that's one of the. It's pointed out in commentary. So why not throw it in there? But it could be inferred, which is only interesting because there's almost never any inference. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a question on the end of it, though. It seems like there's a condition that God places. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised. So, there's a date where God's going to leave us?
Well, there are definitely going to be dates that are complicated for us, right? When we're not paying attention and listening. So right, that's how we start Exodus. We're in real trouble, right? So, and there's this long period of slavery. So there is this there's this kind of weird conditional these passages that pop up for us sometimes, even though we don't like it. But it happens a lot. It's going to happen a lot with your friend Isaiah also, right? There are a lot of those moments where there's this sort of sense of possible forsakenness, but only because we're misbehaving, essentially. Is that kind of where you were heading, Ian?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, great. Sorry, it wasn't to your satisfaction. I'll work on the response. It was so-so. I'll give it a 73. All right. You know what? And by the way, if I took that math grade, I'd be very happy. If I got a 73 in math, I was thrilled with that, by the way. So I was like, whoa, 73. I've never seen that 7 before that, the beginning number of any math equation any math grade. Yes. Okay. Anything else in that section? Yes. It's the first time that God speaks to Jacob. I'm going to say I don't know. I have to check. I'm going to say probably, but I have to check. It's a great question. It's easy. Yeah.
Rabbi can say no.
What's that?
Because he's already talked to him when Jacob asked to get pregnant with Ruth.
But that's
Rebecca asked
but
to get pregnant.
but that's later. That's later. That's
We
in
just did that last week.
what? Oh.
Rebecca asked to get pregnant.
Oh yeah, but this is Jacob. But this is Jacob.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the rabbi.
Yeah, right. You're right. No, right. Because this is to get pregnant. You're saying with Jacob.
Yeah.
Right, but Jacob isn't born. I mean, but Jacob isn't born yet.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
I don't know. I'm going to check. The answer is I don't know. So I'm going to double check. Yeah. Yes.
I noticed here it's God saying, "Here I am."
Yes.
Instead of the other way around.
Ah, yes. So, yeah. Also, there's this like godly, like, oh, here I am. The presence that God is saying God's present, as opposed to a human saying, I'm present before you. God is saying to him in the dream, no, it's me talking to you. Yeah, nice. It's very nice. It's kind of a reverse, because usually it's the humans who say, here I am. But here it's God that's saying, here I am. Awesome. Nice. Nice. Anything else in this section before we go to 16? Yeah.
Would that be because it was a dream?
It's very, very possible. Or it's not. Maybe this is God speaking to him.
Doesn't God do that with Moses?
God also talks to Moses. Well, God talks to Moses a whole bunch of times.
Doesn't he say, "Hineni, here I am"?
Does God say, Hineni, here I am, when he talks to Moses? Maybe it's Moses. I don't know. Again, these are all great questions. I have to do a lot of checking. But yes, I don't think that God says. In fact, it's so weird that when God comes to Moses, God says, you're going to call me a special name, a name that no one else has ever called me before, not even Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. And that's not true, actually, because that same name that God uses, God does use with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So even in the context, which also, if you like the documentary hypothesis that someone wrote different books, it makes sense, because even though when God talks to Moses, God says, I got a special name for you and only for you. But that's not true. God uses the same name for everybody else. So, yeah, that's a side note. Yes?
I really like this story because I like to use a metaphor that it's not a pathway to heaven, it's a pathway to God. It shows that there's a pathway between earth and the eternal. We come down and we go back up, but there is a connection. Jesus says there is a connection. I didn't like the word heaven.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a pathway to God and the eternal, wherever. But those angels, what could be humanity?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mentioned this last night, and it weren't my words. It was from Rabbi David Wolpe, who uses it. But he uses the concept, this very similar concept, that sort of asked a question. He asked a question about why do the angels need the ladder to begin with? Right? They don't need it, right? Particularly if you think they can fly or they're just sent from God, they don't need a ladder. They're angels, so they can appear or disappear or function or not function however we need it, right? So and what his comment was is that the ladder is there because people need the stairway to reach God, right? So it's exact kind of what you're saying. Like people will ascend and get there, and then we'll make mistakes and we'll go down the rungs, and then we'll go up the rungs and we'll go down the rungs, and it'll kind of be that life for us will kind of be the motion of going down and up and down. Our whole life will be that motion of going up and down the rungs. Or what? It could be. It could be. It's true. It's very true. And that's if you get in the soul and you could go that further. Yeah. Yeah.
We have this concept, the notion that when we sleep, our souls actually go back up to heaven and charge, and that's why we say the Modeh in the morning, saying like, thank you for putting my soul back into my body, so it's like it's up and down.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that almost maybe every day we're on this ladder, right? Because that first right, everyone has that first right, that first official I'm up breath, where you're like, okay, I'm tired. But it's that, or I'm not tired, yay, woo, right? So however one wakes up, but everyone's going, no, no. But right, so maybe it has to do with that also, right? That sort of up and down sort of ladder and how we connect. Yeah.
Yeah, could it be a metaphor for our battle every day between the Yetzer HaTov and the Yetzer Hara?
Oh, amazing! I think it could be a daily battle of the good inclination and the bad inclination we had that we're working on every day ourselves too. That some days we're like, yeah, well, I'm pretty high on that rung today, and then some days I'm like, no, that was not such a good day. Maybe I'm low. I'm close to the ground right now. Maybe I got to move back up. I think that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, again, and thanks to Whoopi, which I never thought of all these years. The ladder is a fascinating instrument that's not necessary, but clear it's necessary for us because we're the ones who need the ladder constantly to figure out how we go up and how we come down. And even just physically, I mean, I joked about this too, that I can't fix anything, right? Is that how much does it remind us that we're so human that even to try and elevate ourselves even slightly, we have to bring a mechanism to help us do that. Like we can't even do that ourselves. We literally physically have to buy something, affix it, move it to allow ourselves to move up. We can't even do that physically. We're so limited as humans. So there's a reason why that ladder is there to like literally keep us grounded, right? To show us that maybe that's what the angels were showing, the ability for us to gain the access whenever we might be able to. So, yeah.
Could we liken the rungs of the ladder to a mitzvot? And each time we do a mitzvah, we get a little bit closer to heaven.
100%. You and all of Kabbalah believe that. So, yes, so well done. So, so there are something called in Kabbalah, there's something called the Sfirot. And the Sfirot are these spheres that you ascend and go down your whole life. And they're set for you. I mean, they're set spheres, literally. Our body is set with that sphere, and our life is set with that sphere. And the top sphere, by the way, is God. And the way that the system is set up is that you'll never even get close, right? It's a fascinating system that Kabbalah, that's why it recommends in the old school is that you're not supposed to look at it till you're 40, because it really messes with you. And why till you're 40? Because according to the text, by 40 you're established, meaning you might have a career and a family and so on and so forth. And so the writers of this didn't want you to have to read it because it's really frustrating because the Sfirot show you how you'll never really get there. It's designed for you to, you're like, it's like a ladder in front of you to say you'll never get past the second rung. Never. You'll try, and you'll always fall on the third rung. You'll never get there. That means that our lives are built on our whole lives are built on trying to make that ascent. Try, go, over and over and over again. Yeah.
I've always had trouble with this because if you're going up to that and reaching the top, you're now in what you can call heaven, those type of places. Why come back down? So why do we have to come? Why does the angels come back down? Why does if we get up there, we reach utopia or whatever? Why come back down? Why? What are the rabbis telling us? We're going up and down for. If you want to go up, stay up.
Yeah.
You worked it, you did it, you accomplished the mitzvah, you lived a good life. Why come back down?
Okay. I think I have a guess, but let's see. Yeah.
It would be an obligation to spread the word.
Nice. Right. So that's one of the things is that the angel's job was never really over. That your job was to. So yes, it's like check mark. I did this one, but now I still have 1,000 check marks I still have to go through. So maybe I made it up to this regarding this concept, but now I have another ladder to climb or another thing to climb, hypothetically. What else? I'll be rabbinic for a minute and then I'll respond. Yeah?
Maybe it's not an obligation. Those who become angels are angels because they're willing to do all this and it's voluntary.
Ah, nice. Nice. So there's maybe no such thing for them as an obligation, right? There's no such thing. That they are just doing this because they choose to do so. So I'll choose to do this and this and this over and over and over again. Nice.
But I see the angels as, kind of a symbol. It's really what we do. It's what's in our soul, our body, our heart, and our actions. Like you're judged for eternity by your actions, loving kindness, and these things.
Yeah.
Do these things, why? You've done them. Why take it away? Why come back down?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or maybe it talks about humans are known to be imperfect.
What? Seriously? Yeah. Oh, they're saying it's only that side of the room. All right, yeah. Yeah. Yes? Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great explanation as well. I think it's a great side, by the way. So, so yeah, yeah. So I'll be rabbinic. Why do you think it's structured this way, with the angels sort of not just staying? Yeah, I'm asking. I said I'll be rabbinic for a minute, then I'll give you my response. This is training for rabbi school, right? Just all you do is ask questions. We have no answers, just questions. Yeah. All right. Well, what do you think? Well, what do you think it is? What? Exactly. That's my rabbi. I'm being rabbinic. The question is, I'll give you my guess. Is that I think the angels are there because we need them to come back for us. I think that's the job of an angel, right? Particularly that they show up when they need to in those moments that we need them. That you know them. That angels are not the winged things, they're the human beings. And that whenever you need the angel to show up for you, for that moment, to help you, to teach you, to guide you, to show you, that they're there for you. And so they're not going to just stay up in heaven. That's not what they do. They zoom down for us whenever we need them. That's how I look at it. That's why they never just stay up there. It's never done for them because they're there for us. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We make it to heaven and forget about the rest of them.
What do you mean?
Well, what he was saying is why not get to heaven and just stay there?
Right.
You've got all these other people.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That the job of the angel is not to do that. The job of the angel is to never just stay in heaven and say.
Staying would mean that we are only concerned about our own welfare.
Okay. Are you going against him? Yes. All right, okay, great. This is great. Shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'yigianu lazman hazeh. Woo, woo. Yes. All right. Marcia, save us again, please.
I have a story to tell, and I think I experienced an angel. I used to go to school morning and night, and in the middle I would work 40 hours a week to pay the rent. Now, to get from the school in Manhattan to where I was working downtown, I had to take a bad train line. Now, I was young, and I was pretty when I was young. And a man was watching, another man looking at me, but he didn't like the way he was looking at me. And when I got up to get off to go to Blue College, this man got up and stood between me and the man that was looking at me. And I swear that man was an angel and saved my life. My story.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
It's still very pretty.
And thank you, and thank you for that. I think that's perfect. I think that's the job of the angels. That's just why they don't stay where they stay, that they appear when they need to appear for us. And I think that we probably can all, not necessarily of that kind of moment, but all think of one of those moments that someone shows up when they're supposed to, and they need to, and they guide us in something good or something bad, in some situation. I often think of the people who who guided me for it to fit right, for me to meet my wife, for me to, there are people who do that, an angel who makes the connection for us, who does that. So there's clearly those kind of moments for us. Yeah. That's nice too, right? Yeah. That if they stay, that's not what the job of an angel is. It's not to just stay up there. Your job is to go and be an angel. Be an angel. Go do your job. So yeah.
The premise of my comment was, I'm not buying into this concept that we got angels with wings on.
Yeah, I agree.
That's our thoughts of what we accomplish, what we grow to.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting from what this guy next to you was that you say, okay, so now you've attained this level, you've attained this knowledge, you've attained this mitzvah.
Yeah.
So now your job is to come back and help other people to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he's trying to say, not attacking you, but I understood that.
No, I definitely agree. I do not at any point believe that the angels have the wings and they look like that. I think that angels are the people, just like the 36 righteous people. Like, we don't know who they are. It's not like they were wearing a hat that says, I'm the righteous one. And also, it's also the same thing about the angel, right? Because I feel like the second that you identify yourself as the angel, or you think it's gone, like your angelic, like your power, if you will, is gone. Sort of like the Lamed Vavnikim. Like the second that you might even realize that you're one of the 36 righteous people on earth, you're no longer one of the righteous. You're no longer you're gone from that, right? That's not who you are. Like, it's only in your actions. It's only in what we do, which is also why the whole structure of like the afterlife, for instance, which we're only going to talk about for a second. We're not going afterlife people, so I'm sorry I even mentioned it, but the whole idea of the Jewish versus the Christian afterlife is that the Christian concept is that you spend your life trying to get to heaven, right? And in Judaism, you try and spend your life fixing this place. And when you are only motivated for that and not even thinking about the world to come, you get the world to come, right? If you're thinking of the world to come, you're really going to have a hard time attaining the world to come. You only get the world to come if you're not thinking of the world to come and you're thinking of how to fix this mess here, right? So that's the flip on it, which is. All right, great. What I just said? All right, great. Absolutely. All right, great. Okay, yeah, nice.
The angel is an encapsulated perspective of the thought.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right, good. Nice. Just today. Good. I'm so glad. All right. Now on 16. Now what happens after all this? Now on 16.
Waking from his sleep, Jacob said, "Truly, the Eternal is in this place, and I did not know it."
Okay, so what happened was definitely a what? A dream. Why is it a dream? He woke up. So he was what? Asleep. All right, good. Just think of it. I want to just point out all the details that the text is showing us. Okay, so he was asleep, and so he wakes up, and he says, "Surely," right? The God is in this place, and I did not know it. Now, talk about famous phrases. Now we get into this. Now this little section here is it's awesome. Yeah, keep going. 17.
He was awestruck and said, "How awe-inspiring is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven."
Okay, so this is when we're supposed to realize in certain moments, in certain situations, that, whoa, it only happens when we appreciate it, right? If you don't appreciate the level of the moment that you have experienced in your life in regards to that moment, then it's meaningless, right? He wakes up and he's shaken. It's, wow, that was a powerful, incredible moment. This, by the way, is such a important piece of text. In my former congregation, by the way, this little section here that says, "How awesome is this place, is none other than the abode of God and the gateway to heaven," we had it posted on all the doors of the whole synagogue. So that every time you walked into the synagogue or every time you walked by a door, you realized, I'm in a house of God. So act differently, speak differently, act differently, think differently, because you might not even know it, right? Because it says, you didn't even know it. How awesome is this place? I had no idea this was a holy place. So, but now we're telling you, so when you're walking in, it's a holy place. Yes?
But I think that it doesn't only have to be coming into a sanctuary.
Right.
I think that people walk through life asleep.
Yes.
And they fail to notice moments of beauty and wonder and all the time.
Exactly. Because he's shaken, exactly. Like if we miss that moment, that holy moment, then, right, it's almost as if Moses doesn't see the burning bush, right? And you know, then the commentary is that it's burning for thousands of years, by the way. That the bush is burning for thousands of years. It only takes Moses to take a second and look at it, like to realize the presence that's there, right? If you don't notice it, then it's gone. I always think of it's my favorite story. I don't know if my dad's on, but I always know he's not on this morning. So but my dad always has this. We always have this. It's, you know the story. It's the same story that it's the person standing in the water up to their knees, and the boat comes by, right? And then the guy, they says, "Jump on the boat, we'll save you." And he says, "No, it's okay. God's going to save me." And then the water gets higher. Now it's by his waist, and the boat comes by and says, "Jump on, we'll save you." And the guy says, "No, don't worry. God's going to save me," right? And then the water gets up to like almost close to his mouth, and he's almost drowning. And then another boat comes by, right, and says, "We're going to save you," right? And he's, "No, say God's going to save me." And then the guy dies, right? And then he goes to heaven. Right, and he says, "God, why don't you save me?" And then what does God say? "I sent you 3 boats," right? So, yes. So it's one of my favorite stories, and we talk about it all the time, and it's sort of in that conversation with my dad all the time. We always talk about, like, do we see the boats? Like, we talk about it all the time in our lives. Like, did we miss the boat? Right? If my dad was on, he'd correct me. There was my grandparents moved. They were Hungary, whatever, and they eventually. My dad's family, and they ended up here, and they got a hold of a very small and very lucrative company that sold bathroom stuff, like carpets and little dishes for soap and stuff, like that kind of stuff. And they were doing very, very well. And then the company that eventually became Bed Bath & Beyond offered them to like pull them in, and they said no. So had we have done that, we probably would have been a little bit rich. So my dad always thinks about, like, we missed that boat, right? And so it's the same conversation I had, and you can tell Lisa this because Lisa knows it. When I was dating Lisa, and it was a big decision, and we were long distance and whatever, I was talking to my parents, like, what should I do? And my dad says, boat. This is a boat. So don't miss this boat. Don't miss this boat. This is a boat, right? What's that? Exactly. She makes that same comment. She's like, "What? You called me a boat?" Yeah, exactly. So, right. Yes, but she makes the same comment. But but this is the thing. Like, if you wake up shaken, and you feel the presence of something that motivates you to do something, and then you don't do it, what's the point? Like, what's the point? You're so wasted. You missed the boat. Like, you literally miss it. And so at least he wakes up shaken, right? He wakes up shaken, and he says, "Wow, something just happened to me. Like, this was a boat." Right, this was a moment, right? And he realizes, like, this was a gateway to heaven. And it doesn't say heaven, by the way, Bob. It says skies. So it doesn't say heaven again, but it says Hashamayim. It says the skies above. So yes.
So we talk a lot about gates, open the gates on Yom Kippur.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense, right? This gates, this concept, right, that open and close for us. So, all right. So now we're on 18.
Rising early that morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up as a monument. He then poured oil on its top. He named that place Bethel, but originally the town's name was Luz.
Okay. So nice. So he sanctifies the space. He names it Beit El, the house of God, right? And he sort of, he pours some oil on top of it, and that's the sanctification of that space. By the way, it says vayashkem, and that's if he wakes up in the morning. That's that awesome word that we sometimes talk about. It's not just waking up, it's that waking up with that motivation to do something, right? There's if vayashkem is in the Torah, back to the light words. Remember, like, there's a word that always occurs. If vayashkem is in the Torah, something significant is about to happen. So something big is going to happen to the character. And so he wakes up in the morning with that feeling because he feels that energy from what that dream was. And then he gets up, and there is this pouring of the oil and all that stuff. Okay. So, all right, let's just do this very quickly. Go to 29, chapter 29. We have 6 minutes. We'll do it in 6 minutes.
Jacob.
Sure. Muchnik was like, sure. Yeah. Well, I'm going to try. We're going to try for 6 minutes. I keep talking now. It's going to be longer than that.
All right.
There's no bar mitzvahs. We're staying here till noon, everyone. I'm just kidding. All right, go ahead.
Jacob then moved on and headed for the land of the people of Kedem. He looked, and lo, a well in the field with 3 flocks of sheep,
Right, a well, right, okay.
with 3 flocks of sheep lying at rest by it, because this was the well from which they watered the flocks. A good-sized rock lay on the mouth of the well. When all the flocks were gathered there, they, the shepherds, would roll the stone off the well's mouth and water the flocks. Then they would put the stone back in place over the well's mouth.
Okay, there's a well. So if there's a well, speaking of another light word, right, another word that's, right, if there's a well, it means what? A wedding. It's guaranteed, right? If there's a well, there's a wedding. It's 100% of the time, anywhere in the Bible. Okay, so that means there's going to be a wedding. Surprise! Right. Now, there's this big rock. So here's another stone. Remember I told you there's going to be stones everywhere. Here's another stone, right? And so what's the job of this stone? What's that? It covers the well. Yeah, it protects the well, right? And so it's a very large thing. A bunch of the shepherds roll it. They cover the well so that no like debris or whatever gets into it. And then when it's time to water the flocks, they all push the rock off together, and then they can water the flocks. Yes, we got that. We got a lot of detail about this rock. Okay, now we're on 4.
Jacob said to them, "My friends, where are you from?" "We are from Haran," they said. He said to them, "Do you know Laban, son of Nahor?" And they said, "We do know him." "Is he well?" said he to them. "He is well," said they, "and there is his daughter Rachel coming with the flock." He said, "Since the day is still young and not yet the time for rounding up the livestock, why don't you water the flock and then take them out to pasture?" But they said, "We can't do that until all the flocks are rounded up." And they, the shepherds, rolled the stone off the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. While he was still talking with
Okay,
them,
so hold on. Great, thank you. So there's a whole explanation of the family line and the tree and all this stuff. And there's a woman named Rachel. We found out. Good. And then he's like, "Well, why are you waiting around? Why can't you water the flock?" And he explained, "We can't. It's too heavy. We need the we got the whole thing, right?" So now we get to verse 9, and I think I say this to you every year. I think verse 9 has a soundtrack, and it's Dreamweaver. You know that song? It's like in slow motion. Like everything in verse 9 is in slow motion for now. Jacob is in slow motion starting in verse 9. Everything is with Dreamweaver in the background. I think Dreamweaver. Right, okay, go ahead. All right, now we're on 9.
while he was still talking with them, Rachel arrived with her father's sheep. She was a shepherd. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and with his uncle Laban's flock, Jacob went over, rolled the stone off the well's mouth, and watered his uncle Laban's flock.
Okay, so Dreamweaver's in the background. He sees Rachel. He is awestruck. It's just, wow. Everything just slows down for him, and he is astounded. He sees her, the shepherdess, and then what does he do? He moves the rock by himself. Right. So let's think of, does Jacob have a brother? What's his name? Esau. What are the characteristics of Jacob and Esau?
Jacob was more negotiable.
So Jacob was the tent dweller, and Esau was the hunter. So who do you think looks a little more husky and can move a big rock? Esau. But who moves the rock now? The tent dweller. Because he's like, yeah, there's Rachel, and I'm gonna push this rock by myself. So there's this great scene, right, where he's like, I'm gonna show off as much as I can and push the rock off so she sees me. Shh. No, don't say that. No, you're reading it wrong. Yeah, you're reading it wrong. They're not related. Because they're related. No, shh. No, we're not talking about that. You bring that up last time too. Don't bring it up. Okay, so he sees her, he rolls it, and they go, we got to 11.
Now Jacob kissed Rachel and began to cry in a loud voice.
Okay, he just takes the rock off, runs over her to her, kisses her, and starts to cry. Exactly. Wait a second, you're my cousin. No. So, okay. So, ta-da, here is this moment. He is smitten. It's love at first sight. It's unbelievable. He kisses her. He breaks into tears. Okay, 12.
Jacob then told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman,
Whoops. No, just kidding. Keep going.
that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. Upon hearing the news of his sister's son Jacob, Laban ran to greet him. Hugging and kissing him, he brought him into his house. Then Jacob told Laban everything that had happened, and Laban said to him, "Truly, you are my bone and my flesh." So he stayed with him a whole month. Laban then said to Jacob, "Just because you are my kin, should you serve me for nothing? Tell me what you want to be paid." Now Laban had two daughters. The elder was named Leah, and the younger was named Rachel. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful of form and of face. Jacob was in love with Rachel, so he said, "I will work for you 7 years for your younger daughter, Rachel." Laban answered, "I would rather give her to you than to any other man. Stay here with me." So Jacob labored 7 years for Rachel, yet in his love for her they seemed to him but a few days.
Okay. So, good old relative, he's like, "You can stay over, that's fine." And then he says, "Wait a second, you're staying over. So, I mean, we're relatives, but you should work, right? I mean, someone's got to pay for the bills for all the stuff that you're eating out of my fridge, right? You know these people who come visit you and stay there and eat your food. So you know them. So, right. So you should work." And he says, "Okay, what is he said? What's the exchange?" Rachel, right? So I'll work 7 years. You give me Rachel. Lavan says, "All good," right? Okay. And then let's just do this part, and then we're going to be done. See, I told you it was pretty close. Pretty close to 6 minutes. 21.
Jacob then said to Laban, "Let me have my wife. I have filled my term. Now I want to make love to her." So Laban invited all the people of the place and made a feast. In the evening he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, who made love to her. And Laban gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah to be her maid. In the morning, look, it was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, "What have you done to me? Wasn't it for Rachel that I agreed to serve you? Why did you deceive me?" And Laban replied, "This is not done in our region, to give the younger before the firstborn."
Okay. So, all right. Yours says, what does yours say? It says make love? Wow, that is some serious stuff right there. Mine does not say that. It just says cohabit. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Good, there are no kids in this in this room. Although we did have Dreamweaver earlier. So okay, fine. So the great wedding happens, and everyone goes to sleep, and it's really great. And Jacob was very happy, and he wakes up in the morning, and it's Leah. Wah wah. So, which all the commentaries are like, well, how you do not know, and what was that, and and it was something. So, who knows? So he says, what did you do here? This is really terrible. And then he says, it's not our practice in our place to marry off the younger before the older. So, is this true?
Not what he said.
What's that?
I mean, that's not what he said.
That's not what he said at the beginning, right? Lavan said, "We're good, solid. You get Rachel. We're all good," right? So he's a liar. So Lavan is already a liar. We have a problem. We don't like Lavan. And also, is it true, by the way, about the younger and the older thing? Is it? No, it's not. No, it's. Right, but I'm talking about in Judaism. Who usually gets the power over the other? The younger. The younger over the older. And the commentary says, do you think Jacob gets punished because of what he did with the birthright? Because he's the younger. I don't like it either, but it's all over the commentary because, but yeah, but so that's why this is why it happens to him, because he plays with the younger and the older concept, and now is the older and the younger. Well, he got hustled, but he also gets hustled.
What society always marry off the older daughter before the younger?
Well, he says that, but we don't do that. By the way, that doesn't happen from now on either. What about Joseph's going to show up now, and Joseph's going to be in charge of everyone else, all the other old people, all the other older siblings. So and then all the way through the whole Bible, the younger will be in charge of the older, except for Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim and Manasseh, who are Joseph's children, and that's why when we bless the boys, our boys, on Friday nights, we always say, may you be like Ephraim and Manasseh, because they were the only siblings in our text that got along and that the system works like it was supposed to. Every other one doesn't work. Yeah. Exactly, and Fiddler doesn't work that way either, right? That's the real story. Yeah, exactly. They all get they all get married in different in a different order. Seitel and Chava and everyone gets all. It's a and Motel. It's a whole thing. What the sewing machine? Well, I can break out the song right now if you want. La 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 la. La la la. I was Tevye in my high school play. I was. La 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 la. It was full. Exactly. Yeah, it was great. There were 3 showings. It was all full. Oh, what's that? It was awful. No, it was great. It was fabulous. Yeah, it was fun. Yes. Yes. Indeed. And is Jacob deceitful? Oh yeah. He's very deceitful. His name is Jacob. His name is Yaakov. What does that mean? He was reaching on to the heel of Esau. He was trying to usurp the whole system anyway. Even in the womb, he was trying to do so. So he's a complicated guy. And then next week is why it's so good. So next week is when, we're going to continue the conversation with Jacob, and we'll see the development of Jacob next week, which is why the Torah is so good. So particularly in these next weeks. Yeah.
Isn't this where the Bedekin came from?
So now, this is how we're literally going to end. The Bedekin, you know what the Bedekin is, by the way? So the Bedekin at a Jewish wedding, one can have a Bedekin if you choose to. And it involves the veil, right? There's this idea that that after you sign the ketubah, but before you go to the chuppah, you do something called the Bedekin. And the Bedekin is a veiling process where instead of like in the movies, the veil is on and the veil is lifted, and you're like, oh my gosh, the veil. It's the other way. Is you actually identify the bride and then they're veiled. And now you're veiled to go to the chuppah, as if to say, as the woman walks down the aisle, no one else can see her in the same way as the groom will forever and ever, right? Because she's veiled to the world. Only.
Livdok means to check.
Right, so livdok means to check. However, so one of the stories is that, so there are 2 stories. And the good story is this story, I'm sorry to tell you. But the real story is probably not this story, so I'm going to ruin it for you. The good story is probably this story, and it comes from the word livdok, which means to check. So it makes sense now that if you use this story, that in a wedding, the bride and groom should have a moment where they're looking at each other and to say like, okay, it's really you, right? And then for the groom to then veil the bride and to say, all right, I saw her, it was her, and then to go under the chuppah, and then in the morning you wake up with the right person. So check. It's just, otherwise it gets really uncomfortable for a lot of people. So, right? However, more likely, which I'm sorry to tell you, is in the story of Isaac and Rebekah, the same verb is there, and the verb, which can be in a different context, is actually probably where it comes from. And it's when Eliezer brings Rebekah and they're at a distance to the house, and Rebecca sees Isaac, she veils herself. And that's probably the true context, so it's not as fun as this story of the trickery of the story. It's actually, the Bedekin actually probably comes from the story of Rebecca and not the story of Rachel and Leah, but it's probably that one because she literally veils herself, like the text says so. So it makes more sense that it's that one. And the grammar works better in that one too than this one. So unfortunately, it's probably that. But they both have to do with the wedding anyway. And most people like to use the one about Rachel and Leah because it's more fun. Because it's like, you know, the trickery and the veil and the checking and all that stuff. Yes?
Isn't part of the before the unveiling happens, doesn't father do the Yevarechecha over the bride of his daughter?
Yeah, so there's a priestly blessing, and it's also the sentence that's by the way in the section with Rebecca says that may you be fruitful and all that stuff. There's a sentence that you say vayiti whatever. So there's a section there, and that's also around the Rebecca section. So this just also confirms more likely that the Bedekin comes from there, because you also say, as you put the veil down, you use the same language, like may you be fruitful, because ultimately that's the point of the structure of why Orthodoxy created the structure, right? So it's about being fruitful and multiplying. So there you go. So yes, that was actually the appropriate time to close the book, because so I'll leave you in suspense, even though you've read it before, that next week it gets even more interesting in Jacob's behavior. So, all right, nice conversation. Everyone check your ladders when you get home. With the Torah still in front of us. It says it's probably up and down, actually. But that's the other commentary that I read for last night, is that it's fascinating that a ladder can't just be standing up. It's impossible, because it falls. So it has to be leaning. A straight ladder can't stay straight. It can't. That's nice. Was someone else just holding it for them? Oh, really? It's just floating in midair? Great, okay. It's because you have some vodka and it just stays in midair and that you think so, yes. The angels are holding it, yeah. It's a trick string. It's David Copperfield. Okay, it's a nice way to end because he's Jewish. So, look at that. So, all right, changing the mode, thinking of those who are in need of healing, because we are still in the tail end of our Torah service. If there's someone you're thinking of who might be in need of physical, emotional, or spiritual healing, and you want to share their name, please share their name at this time.
Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mark Davis and Berkel.
Ethel Kapner, Stuart Fruman, Lawrence May, Gerard family, Sam Tankus, Ken Tankus, Gail Gibson, all those affected by the war in Ukraine, the bombing last week in Israel, anti-Semitism and other hate crimes and violence.
Francie Freeman, Bobby Schwartz.
Arthur Friedman. Stephen Salter, Lynette McDonald.
משבח אבותינו ואמותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא ברך את החולים. הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחלימם ולפותם ולהחזיקם, וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, השתה וגלה בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, as together we say, Amen. We are going to return the Torah to the Ark. Now, page 256 in your Siddur, and together we stand.
Eitz Chaim hi lama chazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva hadesh yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
As far as announcements, I don't know. There is, the preschool is doing something called Chic Boutique. And so it is on Thursday from, I think, 11 to 3. Is that what she said? Did she say that? Maybe 9:30, 9:30 to 3. It's on the website. But Chic Boutique, it's actually incredible. The whole ballroom turns into like a store. And it's all incredible items for Hanukkah and shopping and stuff. So you're welcome to join us for that.
It's the preschool moms.
It's an NCC program, but it's really incredible. So you should come and check it out. And then Sunday is Hanukkah Rama, which is sort of the beginning of Hanukkah. It's also a preschool program, but there'll be food and music, and you can also just come and hang out with us if you want here at CBI. That's going to be a really fun day. So that's 11th. Latkes and libations are coming up also. That's also during, that's Wednesday. Yes. Yes, Tuesday night, yes, through Morse Life is doing a Ukrainian speaker here, by the way. You're welcome to join us. We're hosting it. It's not our program, but we're hosting it here in the sanctuary on behalf of them, on behalf of the organization. But you're welcome to join us. I believe it starts at 7, I believe. What's that? It's going to be a really incredible speaker and a really nice program. There are already about 150 people. What's that? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he teaches at FAU lifelong learning and taking classes with you as an excellent speaker. He has Middle Eastern roots. He's a Christian, but he knows Hebrew. He studied. Very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, it's really going to be a fabulous program if you want to come on Tuesday night. So, and if all this information we're giving you, you can check on the website if you want to check times and dates. Everything's on there. But, okay. Aleinu, we're going to continue 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגאור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
transition our thoughts now to Kaddish Yatom. We think of those in the period of Shloshim, the immediate 30-day mourning period. David Zinger, Sarah Herschel, Philip Bloom, Judy Agron, and our yortzeits that occur this week for us: Louise Abrams, Max Ambach, Paul Augenblick, Joseph Beam, Alan Berlin, Ruth Bernstein, David Brown, Nathan Cook, Morris Feuderman, Ann Herskowitz, Stuart Hollander, Paula S. Katz, William Kaplan, Solomon Lech, Florence Loeb, Talma Lurie, Max Palowiski, Sarah Palowiski, Abraham Ryder, Beatrice Shandloff, and Esther Gervitz Tobak. To those names, we add any name that you would like to add. Kaddish Yatom 294. Yitkadal v'kadash shmei rabba, ve'alma divrach cherutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chai echon v'yom echon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba m'vorach le'olam u'lemei almaya, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה על שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. היי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. Together we say, Amen. Please be seated. We're going to conclude on this Shabbat with
Adon Olam.
Adon Olam, 322 maybe? No?
321.
321. I was so close.
Adon Olam asher malach
בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא.
אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום מקרא, מנת כוסי ביום מקרא, בידו אבקיד רוחי בעת אישן ועירה, ועם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא, אדוני לי ולא אירא.
Give strength to our people. Continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat